Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome back to Let's Talk Oculus, episode 224, a special edition of the Let's Talk Oculus podcast. It is one of our revisited series. This is the third revisited episode that we've done, or the third,
I'll take it.
I think.
We'll take it.
We had
Lucky's Tale,
Lucky's Tale, and now Medal of Honor. Samson, welcome to the pod, as you always are here. How are you doing?
Oh, I am doing well, Dan. It has been chilly. I've really enjoyed getting into Medal of Honor. It's sort of a nostalgic one for me, in a weird way, I guess. And how are you?
Well, I'm doing well. It's an honor, without part of the pun. There's no pun there, no pun intended. But it was an honor to play this game again and have an excuse to jump back in and just relive some of the memories that I had when this game actually came out. And I always say on this podcast, this is probably still, probably my favorite game in VR. And I'll go through all the reasons why as we go along this pod. But yeah, it's been a great couple of weeks just kind of replaying some of this stuff. But thanks for everyone for joining us and listening to the show. If you're here for a regular episode that we go through some news, maybe a topic or what we've been playing, scrap that. This is a special episode. It is a fun type of episode that I really enjoy doing. It just takes a lot of effort, but this is our revisited series. So what we're going to do is, the part of revisited series is to go back to the Quest archives, pick out some of the most iconic games, maybe some of the ones that gone under the radar as well, like Lucky's Tale, which was the last one that we did, and give them a new lease of life, essentially. So we'll be taking you through the history of the game, exploring the state of VR at release, so what else was good at the time of release, how it holds up today, and just looking at any influences that we've seen on the VR industry to this day as well. But it's a fun one. We've done one for Superhot, we've done one for Lucky's Tale. Definitely check those two out if you prefer these long historical pieces of podcasting. That involves, our script is 10 pages long. And normally our script is 2 pages long for an episode.
Yeah, not quite as long, yeah.
A lot of research. I love that. So Samson, let's. Well, this is the first time you've ever played this game, right? Did you ever play it back in the day? Yeah.
No, I did not. I did buy it way back in the day, so I imagine I played probably the first mission. I think that's about as far as I got through this one way back when. Listeners of the show know that generally the single player campaigns are not why I'm here in VR. Though I have enjoyed, Hubris, Vertigo 2, etc. Yeah. So I do enjoy them
as well.
And I don't. Yeah, Arcane Age. I don't want to, though. I never roll credits on Arcane Age, so I can't.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe one day when we do if we do a revisited episode, maybe one day. But before we begin with our memories and all that stuff, just to give you a quick facts here. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond is obviously a VR first-person shooter developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by EA, Electronic Arts.
Yeah, Dan, the intro is quick hitter. You get the EA, you get Oculus, and you get the Respawn, and all during that trumpet playing. It's oh, Dan, it felt so great just to see those three, boom. It all felt so great. I don't know if you remember the original Medal of Honor, but it had a DreamWorks. And it was way back when DreamWorks had fun. And it was, I think, the soldier was on the moon and maybe was fishing or got shot off the moon. Yeah, there was some sort of interaction. And
that's right.
Just sort of felt like there was no real interaction in this one, but it just made me feel all that nostalgia.
No, honestly, and to be honest, if you are really into Medal of Honor in general, I did put out a YouTube video on PlaytestVR, my now non-YouTube channel, shall I say. But I did put one out. It was 3 years ago now. It actually didn't do well at all. I only got like 500 views. But it was one that I was actually really proud of. Sometimes the ones that you take a long time don't actually hit the mark. But it was called What Happened to Medal of Honor VR. And on the poster it says The Rise and Fall. And that kind of goes through a little bit of history of pre-VR in terms of the Medal of Honor games. And one of the things I feature right at the start is the DreamWorks iconic kind of scene just before the game begins and into its menu and such. So definitely give that a watch if you want to just see a bit of Medal of Honor history and then leaning into VR. Obviously it's just a 10-minute video. But I think that one's more to do with how it, just kind of failed in a way when this came out. But it's one of those. It might be something similar to like a movie that kind of just doesn't do that well on release and eventually finds its feet. And it's a bit of a hidden gem. This game,
Dan, I feel like it was
fair to say.
It was ahead of its time in my mind. There are because here's the thing: a lot of the sim people are going to nitpick some of the gun stuff because some of the gun stuff is a little bit more arcadey, but that makes it easier to pick up and play for somebody who's more new to VR, honestly. Or like me, I kind of prefer these types of reloads in these games. And it was very large at a time when there was still a 64 gigabyte Quest 2.
Right.
And so I think you had to delete everything off of it to install that if you had that one
when you had the Quest 2. Yeah. Because the Quest 2 version was 42 gig. So yes.
Yeah, I believe that it also had some trouble running, some crashes here and there way back when. And I feel like none of these things are problems now.
No.
So with clean eyes, it was a blast.
Yeah.
Not to get ahead of myself here.
It's okay. You can get ahead of yourself.
I had a lot of fun, Dan.
Just to round off, and then we'll get into memories. And obviously, Samson, you don't have too many memories because you didn't play this game at launch. But it was released on December 11th in 2020. December 11th, 2020, during the height of the COVID pandemic for PCVR, and then a year later came the Quest 2 standalone version, which was amazing in itself. But let's talk about our memories of the game way back when, and then obviously we can get into the history, and we have some fun facts to provide as well. So, Samson, I'll start off with the memories just because I have a ton of memories of this game. I remember back in 2020, this is when I started YouTube and got the Quest 2, which was around, I think it was October, start of October, something around there. I think it was October. And
that's when it came out, yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's when the Quest 2 came out. So I was in the VR space, right, in the Oculus space, and this one got me really excited because the original trailer came out, and I watched it 10 times. I have such a fond memory of Medal of Honor all the way back to its PS1 days. I used to play it then. I remember my uncle, who used to live with us at the time, he used to play the PC versions, which is European Assault and Allied Assault, which were head and shoulders above the PS1 version of the game. It was how you would... Yeah, those games played what the PS2/PS3 Medal of Honors did, maybe more PS2 in terms of frontline, but obviously back in then we had PS1, so to see that running on a PC and see how good it is, it was oh, this looks amazing and such. And I actually never played those two games because they were on PC, and then I actually never got to them, and they never ported it to consoles. But one of my fondest memories on the Medal of Honor series was actually on the Nintendo Wii, which is hilarious. The Nintendo Wii, I can't remember which, I think there was only one Medal of Honor on there, but it used the Wii Zapper, which you could get with some Link trials or something like that. But it wasn't it was actually not the best game at all, and the graphics sucked. It was on a Wii. But it was so fun to play on motion controls, and I was playing a lot online just because it was fun to use the Wii Zapper. And it was kind of some of the parts that made the VR version so fun to actually have the proper, kind of motion controls. Obviously more in a dumbed down sense using the Wii Zapper. But that was really fun. But here we are. with a PCVR version at the time in 2020. I did have a PCVR setup at the time. I had a Mac Mini and eGPU, and it ran smoothly. I remember actually a lot of people hating on it because they couldn't get it to run. A lot of crashes, a lot of bugs. And they had graphics cards and PCs that were souped up better than mine, but for some reason, this little Mac Mini and eGPU just kind of worked like a charm. And once again, if you want to see a bit more details of that, I got a video on the PlaytestVR YouTube channel showing that I could run Medal of Honor like perfectly on a Mac Mini, and I still got a lot of hated comments on in the channel and such. And I'm like, look, it runs perfectly. I'm not even lying. So I got to play a lot of the game that way. I didn't finish the game on PCVR actually, but I got through a lot of the game and enjoyed it a lot more when it did come to Quest. And I was so shocked. I remember when the Quest port got announced, like it was a good few months out. Everyone straight away when the game came out. And I was completely shocked because that game was 200, like almost 200 gig on the PCVR, and they're bringing it to Quest 2, which is insane. And it's so cinematic and all that stuff, right? The fact that people couldn't get it to run, yet they can bring it over to the Quest 2. And the Quest 2 was like powerful at its time, for sure, but, still. It was the Quest 2. So I was shocked to see it, but then I used to love it. I played on the Quest Pro, actually, when it came out, because it came out almost hand in hand. And I remember using my bed as cover to go in and out and such. And I was super immersed, and it was really the perfect, like, imperfect game for me, to be honest. It's what gaming's really about. It's like having fun. What VR is all about is like getting super immersed, and it doesn't have to have the best graphics. If the gameplay's solid and the levels are well designed, you can have fun and like such an immersive time. And that game was for me. And this was like the first one in VR where it actually just like hit me. Where I was like, this one and probably Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners actually are the two games that I absolutely fell in love with at the time. But yeah,
so did you get this pretty much right when you could?
Yeah. I got this at launch. I paid full whack for it. I think it was around, I don't know. I think it was around 40. Like 40. Yeah, 40. Yeah, I think it was around 40. And I don't think it ever changed, right? Apart from sales and such. So yeah, 40 is a steal for this game now, if you really think about it.
Right. Today it's on sale on Steam for 30, and I think it goes on sale for low 20s here and there. So if you're looking for it on Steam, can't speak to how it runs on Steam, though, honestly. I have it on the Rift Store. That's how I play it, via Airline.
I had it on the Rift Store. The Rift Store was really annoying, too, because it was so big in file size. If my internet cut out halfway through, it would stop, and I have to re-download it all from the start again. Terrible.
It downloaded fine for me. It is 184 gigabytes, and I've now uninstalled it. And my computer actually, I said, "You're looking really, really thin."
Yeah, honestly. Any memories for you? I know you obviously didn't play it, but any memories? Yeah,
I had no real memories of playing it, obviously, because I didn't. I knew it came out, and I didn't buy it. But until November 17th, 2021, Dan, for some reason, on this day, I bought it. Not even on sale, for full price. I probably could have waited for a Black Friday deal, Dan. But, 2021 me was young and naive. So nearly a year after its release, that's when I dove in. And I think I played probably the first mission, like I said. And it didn't really capture me, obviously. And nobody was really playing the multiplayer. I think probably I thought I could get people to play the multiplayer with me. That's might have been what was going through my head. I'm not sure. I do have some nostalgia for Medal of Honor. I don't know that I owned it on PlayStation 1, but I might have rented it. I do remember it back then. And I do remember Frontline. That's really when I got in on the PlayStation 2. That was a phenomenal one. Yeah. And so generally, Medal of Honor had a positive, nostalgic vibe just in my gut. So hearing the music and generally this game kind of plays like that first one. I know the game director has mentioned this a few times in interviews, but it sort of just takes you through all these little quick little stories, and
Yeah.
it's a fun adventure, Dan. It's not too long. It's almost what I love about VR. Just very different experiences. You get into different vehicles, different planes.
Yeah.
Literally planes, trains, and automobiles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many different guns. Did
many.
Did you have a favorite gun? I don't know if we should talk about that now.
The M1 Grand is my
is that the one that you got to shoot like this and you get a lot of shots, but you can shoot them far?
No, it's just like a rifle. You get it in the. You actually get it's like a common gun that you'll start with, but it's when you do the like shooting tutorial, it's one of the guns that you use there, and it just pops off like every time you shoot. Like I don't know how many bullets there is in the magazine, but as soon as you shoot, it pops off and it clips off, and there's like a ping noise, and then you can reload it, but you don't have to pull anything.
Yeah, I think it shoots like 8, right? And the bullets are that one. I did like that one, but my favorite was the sawed-off shotgun. And
sawed-off shotgun.
I'll talk about that a little bit later. But should we get into the quick facts? Because that's pretty much all my memories.
Yeah. That the M1 Grand, by the way, it's just I saw it in person for the first ever time when I went to Halifax last year because there was a World War. I don't know if it was 1 or 2 museum. I actually don't know which one. But the first time I ever seen the gun in person, and it was beautiful work of art. I love that gun.
You're like, I know how to reload that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, to a certain extent. Okay, let's go into quick fun facts, and then we'll get into the history. Samson, let's just go one by one, just so we can do it together. First one: Respawn Entertainment previously worked on Medal of Honor: Allied Assault. That was the game that they did play. So they do have history with it, and they knew essentially how this game, how the Medal of Honor franchise is. And this is one of the ones that I was talking about on PC. And it came out on Windows and on Mac and on Linux as well in 2002. So yeah, they have the history of the game and they know exactly how to kind of lay it out. And you do see it in this game as well. Like you see the posters and even the menu system and such. It's all very Medal of Honor, which is so different to like the Call of Duty series and such. So yeah, Respawn, it's not their first rodeo for Medal of Honor game.
Number 2. It was never meant to be a VR game until Meta, Facebook at the time, convinced them to make it and fund the project, more importantly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the case for a lot of these big VR titles that now will not see the light of day now anymore because of Meta's change of stance. But yeah, for everything that Meta's done like wrong in terms of just like in general as a company, when it comes to VR, they did pump a lot of money into it. Like a lot of money into it.
I hope this game one day really gets like a second life when more people have VR headsets and they can be like, oh, there's a Medal of Honor game I can play in VR. Yeah. And then they buy it.
Yeah. If Steam can somehow get like compatibility where if the game is on PCVR, but there's like specific layer, like a Proton layer that they currently have on Steam Deck and such to get some PCVR games running in standalone, just like they can do in the Steam Deck, right? That some can still run even though maybe it's a Windows game and all that stuff. Incredibly impressive. And this could be one of them, potentially. We'll see. We'll see what they can do. The next
the
fun
Steam
fact,
frame, you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's not going to be. That's not going to be many people, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
fair. Yeah, that's fair. No official figure, but touted as one of the most expensive VR games to release at the time rather, and that makes a lot of sense. Like when we go through the history and such, the amount of money that's spent in just like the voice acting alone, the sounds, the music, the animations, all of that stuff.
Dude,
there's so much going on.
They sent people to the locations to film.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because of the documentary, there's so much this might be, I don't know, like, we don't know the figure, so we have no idea. But in terms of like how much money one spent on a game, like you can see where all the money is spent and such, and it's incredible how much money is spent on this. And yeah, that might be also the reason why we will never see a second one, unfortunately. But yeah, back to you.
Yes. It was developed by the full AAA studio, which was rare at the time. Sort of set the bar for VR AAA at the time. Showed that it could be done.
Yeah. There's not many. Half-Life Alyx came out that same year, but there was not many AAA games like that. Number 5, at launch for PC, it required 184 gigabytes of storage. Quest 2 is 42 gigabytes. I think actually I got the facts wrong there. I'm pretty sure it was like 200 when I first downloaded it. I, for some reason, could remember the 200, but maybe I just rounded it up or so. But yeah, it was massive. And then when it came on Quest 2, the issue was for people like me who had the 64 gig one. And bear in mind, the Quest 2 only came out the year before. You couldn't download the game unless you had deleted everything. I had to wipe my whole Quest because I deleted everything and I still had stuff. Yeah. So I had to wipe it all just to download the game. And I downloaded it, I finished the game, and then I deleted it again and then got everything else back. But yeah, I think I had Medal of Honor and probably Walkabout, probably like one of the rhythm games or something like that. And that was it. But yeah, massive game.
At launch, the 10 to 12 hour campaign was a continuous one with no chapters or replayability. Interesting. So that would be a negative, Dan. That now does not exist.
Yeah, correct. I remember this because that was one of the biggest backlashes when it came out, that there was no way to replay specific missions. It was just like start a new game. And yeah, it was like pretty much continuous. So right now you can obviously pick up the phone and then you have the whole menu system. Didn't have anything like that. They quickly updated it to have it in though. I remember they quickly added it in. But
and there's also an immersive way even more immersive way to go into the missions. So if you turn around from the table in the main menu hub, there's a door, and you go through that door. It takes you into a room that has a door for each mission. So then you just walk into each mission. Yeah.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. That's cool.
Me neither. I just started exploring today.
I think because what it used to be, maybe that was just the way it was actually, because essentially each major chapter was like you go into like a theater and that kind of takes you into it. So in fact, that could be what the original menu was. I just can't remember it because they updated this really quickly. Like it was probably within the month of when it came out, because a lot of people had those complaints. So I don't remember that at all, actually. But it must have been like that. That must have been how it was.
Now you can get into, each one is split into 9 plus the two like the intro bit and then the quartermaster, where you can sort of like, it's a shooting range type of place.
Yeah, which is really cool, because if you want to like jump back into another chapter, you can play those individual ones, and you can also just watch the cinematic scene at the start to kind of get the context, and then you could leave and then play a different mission in there, which is really cool. They've really, like, instead of just having a chapter breakdown and such, they've just gone, okay, they've heard the feedback, we're just going to completely cut everything and let you just choose whatever you want when it comes to this. But yeah. Excellent. So the quick fun facts. Let's get into the history. And Samson, we always like to start off with the state of VR, kind of talking about, what headsets were out at the time, the biggest games, the feeling of VR. And this came out in 2020, as we already said. The Quest 2 was the hottest headset on the market, but obviously PCVR, the Rift was still like very popular, but out of production, right? When it actually
when this started, it was developed for the Rift, and then by the time it came out, the Rift was no longer in production.
Yeah. So it was, people still had had obviously the Rift, but the Valve Index was big at the time, obviously being out that year, I believe, and then Half-Life came out in I think it was May I want to say May 2020 Half-Life came out. It was just a few months after the Valve Index. So PCVR was massive, and Steam came in, and it was a big deal. But it was the height of COVID. A lot of countries were in lockdown. Me being in Vancouver at the time, we were okay in terms of lockdown, but I couldn't travel home for Christmas or anything like that. So it was the perfect time to just play games, to be honest, when it comes to COVID. And that's why also the Quest 2 was so popular, right? Because of that, a lot of people just bought Quests during the lockdown. But the big games at the time for PCVR and I guess standalone, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, Stormland and Boneworks for PCVR, they came out in late 2019. And obviously Half-Life Alyx, and that's still probably, the biggest game out there. And then when the game eventually came out on Quest 2 in 2021, it was a big year. Resident Evil 4 was ported, which was incredibly successful. Blade and Sorcery Nomad, Gorn was really popular. Basically, I went to do the research on this. The Quest blog, or the Meta blog or so, they had like a whole breakdown of 2021 of how like popular games and such, and these were in there. And I remember that Nomad, was when we... Yeah,
Nomad only finally fully released like in 2024. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah. It didn't do well when it first came out, but it was really popular in terms of on the paid charts, but didn't do well at all. And this was also the year we started the podcast, Samson, and the Quest Gaming Showcase was that year. So a big year in 2021.
What a year. Dan, right? At the start of this development, the Hirschman guy, he was talking about movement, and when they started developing it, teleportation was the norm in VR. So that's like how old this game was. And then he said that Marvel Powers, or Marvel United, was that one sort of showed them that, it can be done with just stick movement. And it's kind of crazy to think that this AAA studio was on the cutting edge of this of setting the VR norms.
Honestly, even Half-Life Alyx was teleport was the norm to traverse and such, right? That's so weird, because the problem is comfort in the end of the day. With the stick movement, if you don't get the comfort settings right, then you're going to feel sick and such. So teleportation was the norm for that reason. Maybe some other reasons as well. But yeah, all of a sudden the game's, with smooth turning and snap turning. Snap turning was really the big one, to be honest, because that's really... Smooth turning is like still could be shaky on your VR legs, but snap turning really kind of helped it. So yeah, it's revolutionary in terms of what they did with Medal of Honor. So let's talk about a bit of history. As we already said, that Respawn obviously developed this. This development actually started in 2016. But the team was big. There was around 180 people working on it at the peak time, which is quite a big studio working on one game. That's not really a norm itself. But yeah, and then it also represents the return of the franchise. There was no Medal of Honor for a long time. They did do a reboot. I think the reboot, I never played the reboot, but apparently it is a really, really good game. And I should definitely just get it on the Steam Deck, to be honest. But then they did a sequel for it, and it didn't do well at all. The reboot was on PS3, I believe, and it's just called Medal of Honor.
Yeah, there was one I started playing it again, maybe sometime last year or 2 years ago. It just kind of felt like a little, much like this, but just not in VR, so less interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, and then the story of the game essentially is that you're an OSS agent in World War II. And then there's a bunch of traditional campaign missions, but there's really three main protagonists, to be honest. You have yourself, you have Ollie, who is the boy, shall we say, because he's underage, but he's a medic, and he kind of stumbles his way into the battlefield. And then I can't remember your
Sarge.
Is it just Sarge, right?
That's what they call him, yeah.
Yeah. They're your three main characters, but there are obviously many characters that kind of come and go, and they are all like properly voice acted, a proper voice actor as well. Like it's not just like some random person. I think Chris Eggerly, who plays Pathfinder in Apex, is one of the key characters. I believe he does play Sarge, but I could be slightly wrong on that as well. But yeah, Samson, they did a lot during this game, right?
Yeah. Dan, if you don't mind, I got another quote from Peter Hirschman, because this guy did a heck of a lot of PR. I'm just going to read the whole thing.
Yeah, he's the game director as well, by the way.
At Respawn. Yeah. And I'm going to read it kind of how I imagine he probably would have said this. You guys all saw Into the Spider-Verse, right? Derek Esparza, his name comes above the title. He was a supervising animator on it. After he finished that, he came to our team. We do spotting sessions for every single level. There are more than 50 of them. We go through square foot by square foot and look for places to animate behaviors and actions that fall outside the normal AI. We're trying to go super deep with the AI in those core functions, but looking for spots where here's a tired German commander issuing orders. He knows the invasion is going well and they're losing. Derek and his team will capture that on stage. Then we have all the narrative stuff, the differentiate between mocap and PCAP. We have a whole cast of characters, and we do facial capture at the same time. They act out like the narrative script. It's more than 120 pages. It's similar to a feature film. It's an amazing cast. Chris Edgerly, who plays Pathfinder in Apex, is one of the key characters. He's a fantastic actor. Then you saw the stunt stuff, which is a whole specialized thing. As we do those spotting sessions, invariably, there'll be one or two that's something like a guy falling off of his ship or jumping out of a speeding truck. There's something where we need to hire a stunt team. Once we get critical mass on that, then we'll book a stage for a few days. They come in and set up the rigging. It's crazy. A huge stunt crew. We mocap all that. The body dynamics you get out of that are fantastic. All of those feed into the game. Every line of dialogue is animated. We use a couple of different processors to do that. You never shoot the same Nazi twice. It's a lot. We're really tired.
That was incredible. I love the way you put it there. There's so many things to like pick out there. The fact that they do like looking square foot by square foot for places to animate. Like you do notice that, especially there's certain missions, especially one of the last missions where it's quite a big kind of airfield, and you can notice if you look in the distance of like soldiers running or like just talking or such in the far distance, and it does look really, really good, to be honest. And also with don't shoot the same Nazi twice. I actually never noticed that, actually.
Me neither, really.
I guess that is true. Like, did I notice any similar NPCs? Maybe not. I don't know. But I never noticed that. So maybe
I was looking at the uniform.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's how you can spot them, But then even the uniforms change because there's so many different uniforms in this game as well, which is it's a real, like, in a way, a history lesson, this game, of because you're completely on the battlefield in VR and such. It feels like a lot of history lesson, and also in the shooting range or the kind of just like the, I wouldn't say shooting range,
barracks or whatever.
Yeah, there's a not
quartermaster, I think they call it. Right?
Yeah, there's a woman who sat there, and she you can go through all the weapons, you can go through all of the different uniforms. It's like a museum in a way. And every time you interact with one, she starts talking and telling you like the history of it or what it is and explaining what it is. There's also so much detail.
They'll usually show you the weapons or the things you might use on that current level.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much detail, and just what Peter just said there. I guess that's just a small snippet of how much effort and how much time and how much money and how much care that they've put in this game. And it really shows. It doesn't feel like a wasted effort. And terms of, yeah, it really shows a lot of level of detail. But yeah, and to speak on the studio real quick on Respawn, you may have heard them. They've done a lot of flat titles like Titanfall, Apex Legends, the Star Wars Jedi games. They've done the Jedi Fallen Order and the other one. There's a sequel. I can't remember what that one's called. Okay. But they were founded by Jason West and Vince Zampella, and they also founded Infinity Ward, who do, I don't know if they continuously do, but they did Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, you know, all of those games, arguably the best Call of Duties. And it makes sense because, you know, I remember playing Titanfall and realizing how good that felt to play. And even in this game, the gunplay feels really, really good. And, you know, the Call of Duty 4, the gunplay was revolutionary at the time. So it makes a lot of sense coming from that team. But yeah, as you said earlier, Samson, that this wasn't really a VR title at the start, like in our quick fun facts. The internal discussions were a non-VR shooter idea, and I do believe it was still going to be a Medal of Honor on flat screen, which a lot of people probably who are not into VR or not bullish in VR probably disappointed that there was talks for it to be another one on the PS4 or so. But obviously Meta came in, threw a lot of money at it, got them really interested and such. And yeah, they obviously created the VR title, and with the AAA experience, just as Peter was saying, full motion capture, there's cinematic cutscenes, there's full orchestral music. Samson, we haven't even started talking about the music yet. Obviously the voice acting and real world filming with the gallery experience, which we'll get onto a little bit later. So at this time, we didn't have anything like this. Not on standalone VR, at least. Not standalone in 2021.
Or really, I mean, a little bit on PC even. But
right?
This much, like they say, the acting and the motion capture and all that, it's unique even to this day, I'd say. Yeah.
And don't forget, this is Respawn's first and only VR game as well. So, you know, that may have resulted in the issues post-launch, which we'll get into. But yeah, it's an incredible achievement. So just a quick, in terms of the game modes that came out, single player, which is around 10 to 12 hours. There's a multiplayer mode, which you can't play anymore. It shows it there, but the servers are off. A survival mode, which just puts you in essentially small maps, and you just have waves and waves of Nazis. Yeah, waves of Nazis to shoot, basically. And it's a good place to like try out different guns. And so,
yeah, I think in one of the dev talks I mentioned it being more of like a debug tool, and then they were in it and they were like, "Oh, this is actually kind of fun. Can we turn this into like a gameplay mechanic to it?"
Yeah,
That's sort of how it naturally evolved.
Yeah, you're shooting like Nazis straight away. To be honest, even like any little place, like there's even just in the kind of the menu system, you could just pick up one of the guns there and just shoot on the random range that's happening in front of you with just random Nazis going left and right across the map, and you just it's hilarious. But yeah, and then there's also a gallery mode. So the gallery mode, just to talk on that or to touch on that, it contained more than 90 minutes of documentary footage, including a Oscar-winning documentary called Colette, which is around 24 minutes long. So you could watch that on Oculus TV. If you don't even own the game, you can watch that on Oculus TV. But essentially, veterans were filmed in full video, and you can also, they did a couple 360 ones as well, or a few 360 ones in different locations.
Those ones are just stationary images.
They're just stationary, yeah, but I don't think they look too good in there, or at least not on mine. But then I think I realized in Quest 2 there's a menu system to turn on the graphics, to be honest. But they didn't look good on the Quest 2, or Quest 3 rather.
They didn't look the best, I'd say, but they looked, it wasn't like as immersive as being in the game. It wasn't even probably as good as like real VR fishing places, but it was almost to real VR fishing.
But obviously the flat screen documentaries that are in there, they're actually fine. Obviously they're just normal.
Oh, those are really clear. Yeah, and you get put into sort of like, I don't know, a shitty movie theater, I guess. and it is like really high def on the screen there. It's nice,
it
it's
is.
got
Yeah.
like light reflection. It looked good.
Yeah, it feels like you're in a museum, that you're just in one of the rooms, and then there's a big TV, basically, to be honest. But so the reason for this, like, a lot of you might be thinking, well, why did they have this 90-minute of documentary footage in the game? It's very odd to do that. Like, that doesn't really exist in other games. But Respawn did this on purpose. It was very intentional. So they explained that placing players inside World War II using VR raised like ethical and tonal concerns that don't really exist in flat screen shooters, because VR increases the presence and the emotional impact. So they wanted a way to separate historical reality from action gameplay rather than blurring the two. And they really wanted to avoid turning real human experiences into objectives or set pieces. And I think they did a really good job with it. Like, it showed us basically at the time that VR can be more than games. Like, there was not many VR like documentaries and such at the time, and it can be incredibly educational and impactful. And we've seen this in other things in the future, like JFK Memento and such. But it did mean that, you know, it seems really like a good idea, because when you're on like the beaches, storming the beaches of Omaha on D-Day, for example, it's incredibly immersive, and you're like, sometimes you forget, like, you're playing a game and you're like, oh my gosh, this actually was real and people actually did this. And then to go and kind of bring yourself out the game and just kind of watch real veterans kind of talk about their experience is incredibly touching and moving.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's excellent.
And they're all like 90 plus, all the World War II vets at this time.
Yeah.
So you're looking at probably one of the final times, you know, a documentary like that is possible.
Yeah, and they did think about doing, like, essentially having these videos or these documentaries like in between missions, but then they didn't want to end up not doing that because they didn't want to, one, dilute the experience, so and also they wanted players that they can opt in if they want the extra depth and context. And, you know, one of my favorite TV shows, Band of Brothers, does this so well, where before every episode like properly begins, they have like a veteran on there talking about their kind of story for just a short period of time, and then we get into the episode. So very similar to that. But yeah, I think it was the right call to just kind of separate that, but having it still in the game is incredible.
And it probably a large part to why the game is so large.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe that's why on Quest 2 or Quest 3 rather, the some of the video footage in terms of 360s maybe not looking as sharp because they wanted to decrease the file size. I don't know. That's also probably because of all the shaders and textures and everything is dumbed down completely. But it still looks like, in terms of just how it still looks really good on Quest, but we'll talk about more about that in part 2. Sam, so I want to talk about the gameplay itself, because at its heart, obviously, Above and Beyond is like a traditional World War II first-person shooter. It's not like the modern-day Call of Duty games and such. Like, this is a traditional shooter. It has like the classic feel that Medal of Honor games have. We have like it's a linear mission-based campaign. Some of the missions actually are basically get from point A to point B and shoot a lot of people in between. Some of them are a little bit more open than that, but in general sense, it's very linear.
I think most of them have like 3 or 4 different paths you can take.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. There's some like rooms and such that you can go into as well, where you don't really need to. Yeah, you don't.
To find all the secrets.
There's collectibles and such. There's a lot of scripted set pieces, which are really good. Combat heavy encounters as well. But yeah, Respawn obviously deliberately did this because that's how like the classic Medal of Honors were. Let's talk about the guns. Let's talk about the shooting and the weapons itself. Sam, so we're reloading, proper physical reloading, grabbing magazines, racking slides, working the bolts.
Well,
it's fun.
It's quote unquote real, if you will, real sim, or not real sim, real arcadey, because you can grab the what's it called, the magazine, but you can also just eject it with the button.
I always used to eject it from the button, to be honest, just because
way easier,
it was much quicker. Yeah.
and then you just grab to generally where you think your ammo is. I never looked, and then shove it up there, and then rack that slide, and boom, you're good to go.
Yeah, and it was obviously not super authentic. Yeah, it wasn't super authentic because obviously when it comes to these real guns, a lot of them are kind of complicated with how they actually reload, especially the bigger guns. I mean, if you play a game like Call of Duty or Medal of Honor in like flat screen and you press the maybe triangle button to reload, some of the guns take ages because there's all sorts that you need to kind of do. Yeah, especially with like bigger guns. I think it's the Browning. Is it Browning? I think it is. Where it's like a machine gun basically, but you have to open up the top. Then you have to kind of thread in the bullets because they're kind of on a chain, shall we say?
Or is it all in animation?
And then you got to close. It's all it's all just an animation. No.
On
the flat screen, you just press the button, but you're just watching it, and there's like so it's like a bad one to do when you're on multiplayer because you need to reload quickly.
For this one, the racking is in different places.
It is in different places, yeah. So that's what it gives. It gives you that feeling of it being authentic and immersive at the same time, and it's incredibly satisfying to reload. It's kind of Gears of War-esque in a way.
Yeah. Well, there's no like perfect reload.
No.
And I did see one of the complaints online was that when you go to reload and there's should be a bullet in the clip, it doesn't stay in there. That type of stuff doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I think
I wouldn't even notice.
The clip can have like full. The clip can be full, and I can press the reload button 1,000,000 times, and it's fine. It just doesn't, it doesn't like you don't lose bullets or anything.
I do have a question, Dan. I was never able to reload the rocket launcher. How do you get those rockets back into the rocket launcher?
You can't reload that rocket launcher. If we're talking about
not the one that's
not the tank
like,
one.
Yeah, not that one. There's like a full on like
full on like proper where you rocket put launcher.
That shoots like rockets. Yeah,
and you couldn't just slide it through the top.
It wouldn't slide for me. Maybe I was trying the wrong thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember using it. Maybe I did use it, but I can't remember it now. I remember the tank one, but I don't remember that one. So yeah, I don't know. I have to maybe jump back in. And there's a lot of weapons in there that you can probably never use as well. Like, the way you go. So many weapons, and then you might not even use half of them.
Mostly, did you have one that you mostly went to?
Yeah, the M1 Garand I loved. I loved the either Thompson machine gun or just kept picking up the Nazi ones. So the MP40, which is a very common one. I ended up honestly using a lot of Nazi guns because I run out of ammo and I just kind of pick up their guns and use theirs. So I actually used a lot of those. They have a really good rifle, which I cannot remember what it's called for the life of me. And I can't remember. Maybe I'll search it in a moment. But it kind of feels like an M1 Garand, but it just kind of is a bit more automatic and kind of satisfying to use as well. I like these like rifles for some reason to give you a bit of a pop, and that's the thing. Like these weapons feel different too, even though there's no real like super haptics like they would do if they were to update the game today. They do feel different as well.
Did you sniper at all?
A few times. Yeah, a few times. Not as many times, but a few times.
I saw that you can change. So when I went to sniper mode, it made the whole screen go black. And it was just like the sniper was my vision.
Yeah.
And I left it in that. I didn't realize honestly that you could change it. Apparently you can. But I didn't really mind it. I kind of liked it. It's not the best sniper rifle. I'm not going to lie. But it's easy. It's easy enough to use that I had some fun with it.
The Nazi rifle that I used quite a lot, there was two of them. There was the Carabiner, a 98K, which is the bolt action one, and then also the Gewehr, GEWEHR 43, the Gewehr 43, which was a semi-automatic. rifle as well. So that's the other one that I used. That I really liked as well. Actually, it was kind of full automatic, but it felt like a rifle in a way at the same time. Like, if you know what I mean. So it felt like some of the Nazi guns were a bit more. I used the pistol a hell of a lot, because especially in that last mission, because I kept running out of bullets.
I was going to say, yeah, if you're running out of ammo and then boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, and that's a bit. I always found the pistol quite hard to reload compared to the guns. I don't know if it was because it was small, so I had to just move my hand higher and all that stuff. But I always found it kind of finicky to reload compared to the other guns, and I have no idea why. But yeah, the reloading is gamey, but it's authentic enough, or like immersive enough, and I find it really satisfying.
Oh yeah, definitely immersive enough. I agree. This is the type of reloading I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's a good happy medium, right? Yeah. It's a good happy medium. Level design. There's a lot of good kind of level design. A lot of World War II, obviously, environments. There's cinematic staging. There's heavy scripted moments, but the scripted moments are kind of fun, because you're still in VR, and you can actually, I don't know if you tried this, Samson, but when you're like watching characters speak or whatnot, you can still grab your guns and like reload them and shoot them. Like, I was shooting all the characters constantly, wasting my bullets, but the blood will come out of them, but they will still continue the cutscene, and that's always found it funny.
There was actually one time we were about to like sneak through a door, and I had to hold someone hostage, and I actually shot through and killed somebody. And then I was holding them hostage, and the guy was just dead already on the ground. Yeah. And I was like, I'm pretty certain if I tried to kill someone right now, I would just fail this mission.
Yeah.
But I happened to do it at the proper time. And that was kind of hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. Everything's live, so to say.
Yeah, and there is cinematic moments and some active cinematic moments. I don't remember exactly which chapter it is, but I remember being in like a bunker, and then like a gun is in the air, and then it goes in slow motion, and you can grab the gun and then start like unleashing hell, basically. And it's a really fun time. There's environmental interaction in a way, like not for like forefront kind of way where you can shoot down the building and such, but in terms of through the cutscenes, like you'll see rocket ships exploding or boats sinking underwater and all sorts. So there's a lot of like explosions and such, and for the most part it does look pretty good. There's swimming, there's ladders to climb, there's other objects and such. It's less it's not really physics driven like Half-Life Alyx, but it's pretty.
Can we just talk about the climbing real quick?
Yeah.
Because the climbing is so easy. Basically, anytime you're in a situation you have to climb, the thing that you can climb, it's highlighted blue, and then you just grab. You don't even have to, I never once really looked to where I was grabbing. You just grab, and a little less immersive, but it always worked, which is more important.
Yeah, right. Sometimes, I mean, I think that's what also Arc and Age did really well with stuff like that, where a little bit of a shortcut in terms of how you're like kind of getting, like when you're climbing, but then you need to go up a ledge. I think you just push forward and such, and it's just
it always puts you over the edge. This one, yeah,
right. Where like at least it always works like that, which is I much prefer than like full physics driven, because sometimes it can be annoying. And such, but yeah, the campaigns in itself, like with the different missions, there's a variety of missions. Like there's some stealth segments and such, fun little story aspects, and the like classic modern Medal of Honor stuff. There's vehicle stuff. You're in the airplanes. You're on a boat. All sorts. There's tons of environments, but honestly, the full firefights where there's like so many enemies and you just need to cover and try and get through this massive room, I always found the most exciting, to be honest.
Yeah, those big scenes. Dan, I just said back to the interactions real quick. Was there, because in the PC version there was a lot of stuff around the rooms, like if you all the spaces you went into felt so lived in and complete.
Yeah.
And you could pick up books, you could pick up maps, you could pick up all the glasses, throw them, and all that stuff. It was so nice to have all these VR interactions with just all this random crap.
I don't think you can do the same in the standalone version in terms of the interactions. Like there are some interactions, don't get me wrong, and also you've got the collectibles, which are like the red magazines, but hardly, like not much. I think the PC version is way bigger in that respect.
One mission where you have to write a code on your hand, so you have to pick up the pen and then like put it to your hand. That was cool. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, a little bit like interaction.
Yeah.
Let's quickly talk about the multiplayer because it is now not available. Yeah, you did. Yeah, there was 12-player multiplayer. Bots would fill the lobby if it wasn't full. You had deathmatch, team deathmatch, domination, blast radius, which is like controlling a specific zone, which will continuously shrink. In a way, like a battle royale in that respect, and then Mad Bomber, which was a fun concept of just players carrying timed bombs, and they had to kind of plant them, and then other people had to like defuse them. But you know, the problem was when it launched and such, there wasn't enough players playing the multiplayer, so a lot of bots, and it was only fun to people who kind of had like a group of friends playing it, to be honest, is what I've kind of read. I remember jumping into it a little bit when I first played the game, but I was more of a single player person in general, so I actually didn't really get into it much. But yeah, you played it, but you didn't enjoy it, right? You didn't really.
Yeah, I didn't play it when it was live, obviously, or when like really live, because I didn't get the game for a year. But before it ended, I tried to hop in with a few friends. I think we got like 4 or 5 of us in there, and we played a little deathmatch, team deathmatch maybe, and it just felt like kind of a generic multiplayer shooter. I think where this game shines is in all the single player stuff. That's where you get all the motion capture stuff. That's where you get the voice acting, all the big scenes and all that. Like, I don't know, the gunplay and level design of the multiplayer maps just wasn't where I felt this game's strong suits were. So
yeah, that's fair enough.
You know what? It doesn't exist anymore. So.
Right, and I know some people really liked it, but obviously not enough to kind of keep it going. And it's kind of unfortunate because, you know, it seems like maybe because of did they really need the multiplayer at launch? Because it seems like the multiplayer could be a complete separate thing. But remember, at the time,
that would have been an idea.
At the time, multiplayer was such a normal thing in most games, to be honest. You know, even games that you wouldn't think would have a multiplayer had like some sort of multiplayer involved in it, just to have that, you know, it was just a thing back in those days, but you know, now not so much.
What might have worked, that made sense, Dan, right? Is if the multiplayer had a flat screen, like a free to play flat screen version, boom, you have people in there.
Yeah, always it would be. The survival mode, like mentioned, it's small map shooting nothing but Nazis. But in terms of like just some criticisms and strengths at the time, strengths, one of the largest VR first-person shooters ever launched. In fact, probably the largest campaign VR first-person shooter at the time. It was really polished when people got it to work. It was quite polished for what it was. There was a strong sense of scale and spectacle in terms of all the like cinematics, and then very accessible to VR newcomers, which actually wasn't when it first came out. There was actually a lot of comfort settings that a lot of people were missing, basically, and a lot of people didn't enjoy that. But that's another thing that they kind of kept adding and adding over the year. And then by the time the Quest 2 came out, the Quest 2 version, it had a ton of accessibility options for a lot of people. You could play this game seated, no problem, to be honest. And I've played a lot of the game on my stomach and maybe on my knees as well, but we'll get to that. Gameplay criticisms, a lot of people thought that Half-Life Alyx just came out like a few months before, or like 6 months or so before, so it lacked the interaction that game had, because Half-Life Alyx was on just its own league. Exactly. People thought the AI and enemy behavior felt traditional and not VR enhanced, which I disagree. I thought it was just I thought the AI was fine. It wasn't annoying or such. They would come in to play and try and shoot you, and that's exactly it. And then some mechanics felt like a flat shooter adapted to VR rather than built fully around it. So maybe that's
I don't even know what that means.
I think that's maybe with like the reloading of it being semi-automated or so like that. But I think, like I said, the reloading is fantastic. You take something like Sniper Elite, where when you're trying to throw a grenade, you just have to press a button and choose its angle, and it throws it for you. That's a game that I would be annoyed at for those mechanics.
I wish this had that option, because my grenades were not great.
You can't throw the grenades. The fact that you could just take the pin off the grenades with just your mouth, really fun. And then post-launch issues. So a lot of people couldn't get the game to run on certain specs. Like I said, I could get it fine, but there was a lot of people low player count online as well, and the campaign had the pacing issue and didn't have the chapters at the time. So a few issues at launch, which can always hinder a game itself. And then one last thing before we wrap up this part, some early reviews, decent but not amazing, simply just because of the way that people couldn't really get it to run on certain machines. It being almost 200 gigabytes was a negative, and it being on the Quest 2 at 42 gigabytes was a bit of a negative. Now, if you remember, Samson, the Meta put out the 128 gig Quest a few months just before this game came out. They must have known that this game is going to be so big that they need another Quest out. So it replaced the 64 gigabyte, which was a shame for players like myself who bought the 64. But it is what it is. That's just what happens. So a mixed reviews, but I think as time goes by, I scoured some of the Reddit forums to like some people who asked, hey, is Medal of Honor worth picking up today? And this was like 2 years ago or 3 years ago or so. And everyone's saying really good, hidden gem. This game, it plays really well. And, you know, praises it way more than hate on it. So it's complete turnaround, but I just don't think as many people know about this game or such, especially with the state of the Quest store being so awful. Probably half the people probably not have seen this.
There are definitely better VR shooters out there, right? But there's no real VR shooter with this kind of production value, right? Like people were so big on Zero Caliber and Zero Caliber 2.
Yeah.
And I just feel like this is what that hoped to be kind of deal.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Samson, that is the history and our memories and such, and that is part one. In part two, we'll tell you how it plays today in 2026. I can't believe it's 2026 since we've done this revisited. Who would have thought when this game came out that in 5 years' time, 6 years' time almost, we'd be doing one of these. But yeah, we'll be talking about how it plays today in 2026. So we'll see you in part two.
Hey, we know public lobbies in VR games can be a bit toxic, feel a bit empty at times. That's why we created the Let's Talk Oculus Discord, a friendly community that you can join for multiplayer meetups, general VR chat, the game, and chat about VR, fitness motivation, and there's even a very impressive 3D printing channel. Join over 100 of our community members in the Let's Talk Oculus Discord for free. The link is right in the description.
Welcome back to part two of LTO 2222224, Samson. There's too many twos. This is our Medal of Honor Revisited episode, and we've gone through the history. Let's talk about how it plays today in 2026. Samson, to be honest, a lot of the listeners and Discord members who are quite loyal to the show know how much I feel about this game. And I will get into my current thoughts of replaying this game in a moment. But Samson, I think a lot of people want to hear from you as someone who hasn't played the game and start quite fresh. You know, this is fresh set of eyes. You have no idea what the janks or issues were at launch or anything like that. You've read about them, but you've never seen them and witnessed them. So Samson, as someone who's playing this in 2026 for the first time, how did you find it?
Well, Dan, me and I joined the 10,000 other people who did mission number 1 and the 4,500 people who made it to mission number 6 completion. Off the bat, Dan, what a really fun fucking adventure. Really, like, by the end of it, I was like, wow, I've been through so much with these people. And,
Right.
I don't want to spoil any real big plot points, but it's an emotional story by the end of it, really.
Yeah.
The tutorial is very immersive, Dan. I don't know if you remember. It's a bit slow, really, the whole beginning. But you start off in a hospital ward, and the doctor is sort of going through the settings with you in, like, medical jargon type of deals. Like, are you I forget exactly how it is.
Are you a left-handed or right-handed or
Yeah,
so?
that
And you
type of
just
stuff,
put up
yeah.
your hand, and then it's like, oh, you're right-handed, and it basically configures the like comfort settings and just basic settings of the game
Exactly.
through medical exam, and it's super immersive, and it's wicked, right? I can never forget that.
I did like it. And then there's a good amount of dialogue in the game. I'm not sure I was prepared for it, but you can skip it. I didn't skip it, obviously, the first time through, but I did end up playing a lot of the game seated. Also, Dan, I didn't realize there was no crouch button. I couldn't find it in the settings, honestly. I'm not sure.
There is the settings to turn it on,
but I didn't do much crouching. I did turn on seated mode eventually, though. And when you're in seated mode, it just auto crouches when it wants you to crouch. Like,
right.
Like when you're walking underneath things.
Maybe that's what it is, because I never actually turned it on, but there is a setting in there for crouch. There's actually three settings. There's nothing, but then there's two other ones, and maybe one of them is a button, and maybe one of them is auto crouch. But I actually not tested them themselves. I just know it's in the menu. But yeah, you can definitely play this game seated, no problem.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like seated missions where you're seated in a vehicle.
Right.
So those ones I just feel so much more comfortable actually sitting. My favorite parts, speaking of, were when you were inside of a vehicle shooting. Like, that just felt so good. Just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Or it was just like, it was the best part. And especially because a lot of them, you're just aiming with your head. It's like, just look around. And you've got like, in one of them, it's like a whole 180 degrees that you can look around.
The plane, the mission that you're on, like a big plane, it's the bomber plane, where you have to. The cool thing about that is that you're moving between different points as well. So it's like, get on this one, and then one of the guys dies, and it's like, okay, now you get on this one and get on that one. Then you have to release the bombs right at the right time and such, and that's really fun because you just get a very different perspective each time. It's not just you're just in one little vessel for a good 10 minutes or whatever. It's really cool to get that different perspective each time. And I can see that being fun.
That's basically the whole game. Is just like bits and pieces, like just short little scenarios throughout that are just really fun to experience, and then you just kind of move on. And throughout the game, you're just getting more and more guns and generally more options and more fun guns. It's like they knew how to make a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the progression, right? Like, it really does progress. Like, it starts off kind of slow, but also very easy and such, and it just kind of eases you in. And, it just gets more and more, I wouldn't say harder, but like the level design is more complex and such. And it's a good kind of progression just for you learning the game.
Unequivocally, though, the worst part, Dan, was the swimming. Luckily,
not
there's
much though, right?
Luckily, there's not much swimming. I think it's only a little bit on level 4.
That's right.
At one point,
is that after the skiing?
I think it's before the skiing.
Before the skiing,
At one point, you've got to swim to the surface, and I'm playing over Airlink, and for some reason, right at this time, it's getting frame rate drops. And so it's starting to like make me look sick. You're looking through the water, and so it's already like a bit hazy. Dan, I just shut my eyes, and I'm just going like this, and I open my eyes. I'm like, all right, a little bit further. I shut my eyes, and because there's nothing that's going to kill you at that point. You just have to swim up, and it was just taking forever to go. God, I was just like, when will this fucking swimming end? And then, so right after the swimming, I think is when you go into the skiing level, which also, Dan, I've never skied, so I can't speak to exactly how true to it.
I died during the skiing level, to be honest, because I think you move your head to kind of direct. But
that's what I was going to say. I've never skied before, Dan, but I think you need the poles to do your directions as opposed to just looking where you need to go. So you just don't need your poles really at all, and you do need your guns because you got to kill people.
Yeah, you do. You do need the guns.
Did you direct yourself into a tree or something? What did you do?
I hit like a rock or something. I had like a mountain kind of rock or so. That's what I remember. But I just died. Or maybe as I did that, I got shot at the same time. I don't know. But
once I sort of thought
exactly, but it's only once.
Once I thought of the skiing as more of like an on rails bit, where I'm just like, all right, I'm just going down and like a temple run, like dodge the things. Then I was like, all right, I'm in. Okay, it's just a game, whatever. Yeah. It's like you're pretending you're James Bond type of deal. Yeah. It's not like you're immersive, like real skiing and having to shoot. No, this is a friggin' video game, and this is fun, and this is cool. Right. Honestly, a lot of the stuff that I've experienced in Deadpool, like that initial where you're in the car and you're the passenger shooting. Going through all those enemies, that felt like a lot of those moments were in this. So that's a lot of my initial thoughts. I've got obviously a lot more to say, but do you want to go into some of your?
Yeah. I mean, to me, this game captures everything I love about VR. Like VR to me is to experience gaming in a different perspective. Like it puts you in the game. It makes you feel like the lead character instead of you just watching a story unfold on a flat screen in like a very generic sense. But immersion is what VR is all about, and I think this game captures it so damn well. Like, yes, it's not a perfect game. There are flaws in it for sure, and there's definitely at times you can see how it's a little bit dated too, but the mechanics feel solid and satisfying for the most part. Obviously not with the swimming and such, but I can't believe this is Respawn's first attempt, and it's similar to Arcane Age, how like this game immerses you in every way possible, and for a game that really feels like it is so built and made for VR. And Medal of Honor is another fantastic example. So yeah, like the medical exam at the start, like you said, I also not just the medical exam. I really love how they do like the early kind of like intro to the game where you go into the barracks and the shooting range and you pick items up and it shows you how to shoot. And I'm not sure if you've seen Samsung, but some of the like facial models are incredibly ugly. And the two men, especially the first one in the barracks, when he's showing you just how to shoot your pistol and shoot over your shoulder, that guy looks kind of like the person from the Goonies. And he's kind of a little scary little dude, and I remember shooting him in the face many times, and it's really kind of like funny looking models, but they're
very PS3-esque, and they've got the full teeth and all that. It looks good, but it's a bit awkward at times.
And then I like how when it shows you how to like use the med packet or use the injections where to heal yourself, you have to stab it into your stomach basically. And there's a cool little sound that happens when it does that. But it's like, okay, soldier, I know you just came out of the hospital. I need you to injure yourself so you can see how this is done. And then it puts in, like, it says, please stab your hand with this bag of nails or something like that. And there's basically a bunch of rusty nails, and you just have to put your hand on it. And it's just kind of funny the way it's done. And it's very just like, it's like, once again, super immersive. I'm going to say immersive quite a lot in this spiel, because that's exactly what it is. So, Dan, really enjoy that. Yeah.
Exactly how did the health work? Because I would get shot to a point where the whole screen would kind of go red, and I would know I'd have like one shot left before I died. Mm-hmm. But I don't think if you're a little bit above that, your health would kind of regen and you'd be okay. But I think once you got to that point, you would stay there until you syringed.
Pretty much, yeah. So
Okay.
you have like a small regen point, and then when you're like one shot away, like you mentioned, you hear the heartbeat, dun, 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 and then everything kind of goes almost red in your, like you can see the blood in your vision, and you have to then stab yourself with the health to kind of bring yourself. But if you don't, let's say if you run away and you just take cover for a little bit, it does start to slowly come back to maybe still not perfect, but to maybe where like 2 shots and then you're dead kind of thing, or 3 shots then you're dead. So it doesn't, as far as I'm aware, I don't think I left it long enough to regen completely, but it does take a long time. So you really just need to find a health packet, to be honest. So yeah, that's how it works. But yeah, we've kind of spoke a lot about the obviously gunplay and such. I find the reloading incredibly good in this game, but one of my favorite parts is the crouching, because by default crouch is turned off, and it forces you to actually crouch in the game. And like I said, you can turn it on, but it makes it so much more fun. Like I was even playing a little bit earlier today. I just jumped into like a random mission, and the fact that like the only way I could get through the level was I had to take cover, and when I get to cover, they obviously can still shoot me. So I need to I was on my knees, on just 2 knees. You can go prone if you want. I didn't go through this second kind of like main playthrough over the last couple of weeks. I never laid down, but I remember back in 2021, I did that quite a bit, like in the bedroom, just laying down. Probably because I had like proper carpet in my bedroom rather than here. It's just a rug, so it's not as soft. Yeah, a hard floor and a rug, so it's not as soft. But yeah, I used to do that a lot, like get pretty much prone, kind of crawl around or like crouch around just to kind of. And one of the perfect missions to showcase this is D-Day on Chapter 3. I think it might be the second one in Chapter 3, but you storm the Omaha beach, and it's super chilling to be on those boats, like I said. But as soon as you get onto the beach, you can't really get past the beach. Yeah, you can't get past it without crouching. Like you're gonna die a lot. You need to run into the little like.
That was a really fun mission. That was a really.
It was
fun
incredible.
Mission.
It also, like I said, like it's ridiculous how this was real life, and the game really just gives you another layer of appreciation.
It was a really fun one.
It was incredible. Yeah, the immersiveness is wicked, and you finally get to the top and you go through the little bunkers and such.
Like, yeah, well, just like that first bit where you're on the beach and you're like there's a guy pulling the boat that's got explosives, and you got to grab the explosives, and you got to run after him as he's up there, and then he gets shot. Then you got to take it, and then you got to run with it. Like the whole thing is so epic.
It is. That's it. It's absolutely epic. And I mean, Saving Private Ryan has the scene from D-Day and such, and it feels like you're playing that scene. One other thing, and then I'll pass it back to you, is like I said, the immersiveness of like just pulling a grenade pin with your mouth, but not just that. Like if you just pull the grenade pin with your hands, the animation that happens with the grenade, and also the sound. It sounds so authentic, and the sounds throughout the whole game, whether it's a gun, whether it's an explosive, whether it's anything, basically, they sound super authentic and adds to the immersion once again. So yeah, back to you, Samson. What else you got to say?
Good sense. Well, I'll mention some quick hitting, almost like our quick facts, but just some small things I love.
Do it.
In the main menu hub, there's a hat rack, and you can try on all the different hats. I'm talking like a top hat, a helmet, a little maybe like a fedora type of hat. Just all these different hats. It was such a nice little immersive touch in the main menu for no reason. Sarge has a lot of quips, a lot of puns, almost like dad level jokes at times. I'm here for it. I thought of D-Max, honestly, a few of them. The level of detail, very astounding, like all the things you can interact with, as mentioned. The grass and the flowers like blow in the wind. All the buildings just come to life. The ground has dirt, scuff marks, like the snow prints, shoe prints in the snow. The level of immersion, as you say, I will also say, is high, Dan.
Yeah.
Very high.
Super high.
I don't know that I'd call them all like set pieces and all that, but just all the scenarios you're put in are just so much fun, from like fighting up a moving train. You mentioned storming the beaches of Normandy, like every single vehicle bit. Even though you can't drive, like there's no driving, don't expect that.
No.
But there's still fun. Like you're in the B-17 bomber, the Sherman tank, the boat. You know, it's not like it's a big boat.
It's a big boat.
Yeah. But I don't.
You don't fly a plane, right? Either, but you're on the plane.
Yeah.
As
You
well.
don't fly.
You parachute as well. You parachute, and you know that's pretty cool.
Back in moving trucks. I love how the guns snap back. So if you're holding a gun, you let go, it snaps back to its proper place on you.
Yeah.
And if you go to pick up a gun, like if you're holding that particular gun and you pick up a new gun, it'll replace that one.
Yeah. And you see the animation of it like spinning and turning behind you rather than it just like flashing
disappearing
away. Like that's really cool, you know.
The amount of presence you have in all cinematic moments is pretty great. Like there are no real cutscenes, Stan. They're cinematic moments. Like you're
in there, yeah.
You're getting a directive from your captain or whatever, and he's playing a little movie screen, but you can just completely ignore all that and just watch the three other people like in the room watching, and they're all still fully animated, moving around. Yeah. You can interact with the things on the table. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I used to grab stuff and just throw them off the table whilst I just...
You're a slacker, McFly. You're a slacker.
Just being stupid, just because you can. Just because you can.
Some of the levels are very linear, like you mentioned the U-boat. It's really just the big metal tube, but a lot of them have different ways to go and like areas to explore, to look for secrets, to just look for random stuff. It's such a great game. Dan, the Morse code. At one point, you had to do some Morse code, and you got to physically push the little beep, 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 beep. It's like little touches like that, very, very fun. And then the music is on point. Just it feels epic and legendary, like not John Williams, but almost John Williams.
The music's fantastic, and actually, one of the missions, which is really early on, I find it really fun, where you have to get a record and put it on the record player, and then the record plays out, and then that kind of is the signal, and then you have all these Nazis, and you have to shoot through the windows and such. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. But yeah, I love a lot of those points that you, and I'm really happy that you've now had a chance to play this game. This game I've been like chatting about for 5 years time, and I'm really glad you've got a chance to play it. Samson, I do want to quickly point out though, one of the next things that I was going to say that I wrote here on the script was about a bit of the graphical quality on Quest 3. Like when I've been playing it throughout this time, there is a lot of fuzziness around like the characters and such, and the environments, and it's kind of that like anti-aliasing stuff, and the aliasing rather, and I didn't mind it because I was so used to the game or whatever, but it did feel like it's dated. But I say all this really quickly because Samson, just before we recorded, just before we pressed the record button, you said to me, "Have you checked out the graphics settings in the settings?" And I didn't, so I quickly grabbed my headset before we recorded this and went straight to the settings and realized you can turn on texture mode like super high and all that stuff, and I had everything on low. Essentially, I had anti-aliasing off. The texture was on low, and then there was one other thing that was on medium, and I can't remember which one that was on. So I cranked everything up to the top, and then I just jumped into a mission, and everything looks so smooth. There's no fuzziness or graininess around the characters. It just looks way better, and I can't believe I've played this game twice now, almost. I mean, I didn't really play it all the way through this time. I kind of played a bunch of the missions that I really liked, but I played this almost pretty much twice the way through, and I never knew that you could change the graphics. So I feel stupid, Samson, but now at the same time, I'm excited to go back in and play some of my favorite missions again with the graphics mode. So if you're playing on Quest 3, it looks fantastic. Just have to go into settings and kind of adjust those graphics. And it looks great. Looks great. It looks great on PC. You played on PC, right?
Yeah. I played Rift Store via Airlink on Quest 3. It worked pretty well for me. I played in other rooms. I'd say I played in one mission segments each time, and then sort of took a little break. And during each mission, it was because of how well it ran. I knew it was my internet, but I would always experience some frame drops, but I just pushed through, and then I was always able to just keep playing. I do like how each mission is split into 9, and you can play in short spurts. So if you have to go, you're like, all right, I know it's save right there, and I can just hop back in later, or you can just plow right through. It reminded me a lot of Meta's like 20. Set your game up to be able to be played in like 20 to 30 minute spurts, and that's very much what this felt like. I did feel like there were too many black cuts. Like it would fade to black for no reason. It didn't really deter from my experience, but it was something that I noticed at times. Outside of not being able to reload the rocket launcher, I really loved all the guns, particularly that sawed-off shotgun I mentioned. You get 2 shots, and you can reload it by throwing the bullets in and then flicking the gun up. And you can kill 2 to 3 enemies if they're close enough together with it. And right when you get it, you're put into this room with barrels with, I think, water or oil in them. And so you shoot the shotgun, barrels have holes in them, and then liquid would pour out. I'm not sure if this was in the Quest 2 version or not, but liquid's like pouring out all these. I'm killing all these guys with the sawn-off shotgun. I'm just running around, boom, boom. Oh, Dan, did I have some fun on that?
Wait, do they also just then it all goes on fire and such? Essentially, in that,
I might have been like running through fire, but I don't think so.
I was just thinking of a different like mission in chapter. I don't know if it's in chapter 6 or chapter 5. Probably chapter 6. There's a mission where you're in basically this like kind of place where there's a bunch of like kind of barrels and all that stuff. There are
a lot of red barrels throughout the whole game.
Yeah. So it's not red barrels. These are like just like tankers and such. But the whole room ends up being just on flames, and
you got to run through.
You got to kind of
I'm not talking about that level, but that level was a little hard for me because you can't really see. Can't really see.
No, it's dark. It's tough, and there's enemies coming out of nowhere. But
and so they have the flashlights, right? And you got to just That was fun. I was curious about that because there's a few parts where you have a flashlight, and it's like the lighting's really good on the PC one. Like the flashlight's acting like a flashlight, and I wasn't sure if we had like an After the Fall type of situation. On our hands.
The flashlight's in the Quest version as well. But it definitely probably doesn't look as good. And I was playing it on low textures and low settings. So I guess I can't accurately tell you exactly how it was because, I didn't realize that was a setting.
But I think that's about all I have to say about playing the game in 2026. I think you should get to it. If you want a World War II shooter, you're not going to really find a better campaign in VR than this one.
And you probably never will. I think, like you said, I think graphically you said around like PS3 graphics. I think that's quite accurate, to be honest. And like I said, with the settings on Quest 3, it does look pretty good. But just to answer the question of how it plays today, it plays really well. And it's just as fun as ever. And the one thing you didn't mention there, obviously you said there was some glitches, and that was probably because of the internet and playing it on Airlink and such.
It was like the frame drops.
Did you notice any specific like issues with the game at all? Because personally for me, I didn't notice anything. The only one thing that happened is in the level where you're on the plane and you are switching seats and such. At one time, I had to move and it wouldn't let me move, and I was like stuck in one of the gun turrets. So I just restarted it, and then it was fine. And I did not even restarting the game. I just had to restart like the mission basically, and then it was fine the next time I did it. That was the only time it ever like had an issue. But aside from that, no issues. And I remember playing it in 2021, and I actually don't know if I'm blurring the lines between the PCVR version or the Quest 2 version around that time. But sometimes when the enemies were a little bit far away from you, they would lag a lot. Like they would obviously have hardly any texture.
They probably just have frame drops. They probably just didn't do every frame.
Yeah, they were running in slow motion. I didn't really experience that this time, or at least I didn't really notice it this time. So maybe that was because I was playing everything on low, so everything was buttery smooth.
Yeah,
used to say.
Speaking to the plane movement and I did remember when you have to go like back and forth. There was a time where I like couldn't get around this guy, and I just had to walk like through the gun. I think something like this, where I was like, "Oh, okay."
Maybe it was similar then. Yeah, maybe there's a similar little bit of there, but overall, it runs great and probably runs better than some games do today that's come out. To be honest, so yeah. Anyway, that's how it plays today, and that's part 2. Part 3, we'll just wrap up really quickly, just to talk about any influences we see in the industry, and obviously wrap up the show. So we'll see you in part 3. Let's Talk Oculus is available on all good podcast platforms and some rubbish ones as well. If you want to see the video version, it's available on YouTube and Spotify. And also, if you love us so much, then consider throwing us $1 at patreon.com/letstalkoculus. Back to the show. All right, welcome back to part 3 of LTO 224, Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. We've gone through the history, we've gone through our memories, we've gone through how it plays in 2026. Samson, let's wrap it up here and talk about some influences on VR industry that we can see today. I found this one kind of a little bit difficult when I was going through this script, to be honest. I think in terms of direct influences, I think it's more to do with like in a general sense, like AAA studios taking VR more seriously, like what you said earlier, of realizing that they could put such a big scale game on a Quest 2. And obviously stuff like Assassin's Creed came out, and Asgard's Wrath 2 came out for Quest 2 as well, which are like huge games that you never thought would possibly be possible on a mobile chip. And documentaries in VR, right? Like because of what they did with the documentaries, like obviously JFK Memento is like one of the gold standard ones that we always mention, but that was incredibly impressive because of its immersiveness of the documentary, of how it incorporated VR. This one doesn't do that, but it just shows you how like impactful having a documentary in VR is, whether or not it is just a flat screen or not. There's something about it that really captivates you, shall we say. And I guess that could be a direct influence as well. Yeah,
outside of, really reinforcing, I guess, smooth movement, which was already probably was sort of becoming the norm when this finally did come out. So, it's not, people aren't like, oh, we're going to do this because I played it, I saw it in Medal of Honor, but it is like, oh, look, AAA VR can work. It can be a great game. Did millions of people buy it? Absolutely not. But it's good. And
it's great. It's fun. Yeah, honestly. Indirect influences. Yeah, I think like what you just said, prioritizing the thumbstick motion, the smooth turning or the snap turning and manual reloading, but also having that gamified reloading, which is still really fun, even though it has some manual aspect to it. Obviously, it's way simpler than Half-Life Alyx's physics, but you think of a game like Contractors and Breachers and such, and they definitely would have looked at this game, which came out. This obviously came out later than that. But I really wish Sniper Elite, more than anything, learned from this game, to be honest, just from the mechanics of what it did. Sniper Elite is still a good game. I still enjoyed playing the first game.
I didn't play the mechanics.
Yeah,
that's what they are in Breachers and Forefront. I mean, because it gets it so much more precise. You know exactly where that throw is going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to throw a grenade, to be honest. Well, in VR, especially when you have to throw something and you have to be aware of your surroundings above you as much.
I mean, I just hit the wall. I'm only on like, a Zoom call.
If Breaches and Forefront were just, I guess if Breaches and Forefront didn't have that assist, then I guess in general sense, not many people would use the grenades, and maybe it would take the fun out of it. But I don't know. I'm a sucker for those grenades. They're cool. They're cool. Samson, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything else to add, or just people should just buy this game?
Not to add, but overall, I thought the game was a really fun experience. You're gonna have go through many different scenarios, experience many different guns and vehicles, and you're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a little slow at times with some dialogue, but just immerse yourself in there and enjoy the show. So yeah, I recommend it to anybody who wants that sort of nostalgic World War II video game of like PS1, PS2 era, with some PS3 graphics.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that you'll most likely never ever get a sequel of this game, and whether or not a game like this comes out again, it's probably a long time before something like this comes out again. Before it'll probably be the next time like a big VR jump happens, right? And it's going to be a while. So really enjoy this game, and yeah, what I would just say is that there are few masterpieces in VR, and a masterpiece in VR doesn't mean it's like a perfect game or anything like that, but to me a masterpiece in VR really captures what VR is all about, and this one's to add on to the list in my opinion.
This one really feels ahead of its time, Dan. Like imagine if this had launched with Quest Plus, and then all of a sudden the multiplayer has all these people that are in Quest that just have it from Quest Plus. And then the multiplayer has people, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, let me try that single player." It was just a little bit ahead of its time.
I agree. And there's not much else I can say apart from if you're into history, especially World War II, look no further. It's an amazing experience. If you're not into but you enjoy single player games, I still think you should just buy this game. And if you're not into any of this, and this whole episode for some reason you've got 1.5 hours into this episode and you're like, nah, this is not for me, at least watch Colette on Oculus TV for free for 25 minutes, because it's a very moving documentary and it won the Oscar, and you can just watch it. So at least do that if you really want to. But
it does go on sale too.
It does. Yeah, it does go on sale for sure. It goes on sale often, actually.
Yeah.
It goes on sale often, especially on the Quest store as well. So, yeah, check out Medal of Honor. You should definitely check it out. I've been talking about it for ages. And Samson, now you can see why I love this game so much. This is a fantastic game, and a game that should be played by a lot of people. And I don't know how more people would get to know about it apart from people like us just talking about it.
I wish this one came to like PlayStation VR 2 as well. I feel like that crowd would like a single player campaign like this. Although they might complain about those gun mechanics or whatever, but it's such a fun campaign.
Oh, they would eat this one up. They would eat this one up. I'm just looking on, just before we end here in terms of the sales, I'm just on Quest Store DB. So definitely check out Quest Store DB if you just want to see the price history and such. For some reason, it only gives me the price history from the last year, which is a bit odd. But it did drop down by $10 in the last year. So yeah, it's $40 USD right now. It did drop to 30 last year. So yeah, go grab it. Fantastic game. Samson, that will do. I think we've spoke long enough about this episode, but thanks everyone for sticking around. If you enjoyed the Revisited series, let us know what to cover next. We like to not only just play the games that we've played before, but also games that we haven't. Like Lucky's Tale was a game that we both never played last time, and we had a blast, and it was a great time to kind of go into that game. So let us know what you want to play next. Hopefully it's a smaller game rather than a 10 to 12 hour game, so we can get it out sooner rather than later. But just let us know in the comments on Discord, in I guess the YouTube comments is what I was going to say, and Spotify comments and such. But let us know. But thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for watching. I've been Dan.
That's
Excellent. And we'll see you next week.